With Frank Napolitano and Paul Rushforth, here is Steve Gregory.
Welcome to February. Here we go.
Welcome to Feb. I'm sure you guys are excited to have me back this week.
Oh, were you
Look
gone?
at us.
Well,
Yeah.
well,
Did you miss a show?
Well, Bell Media called and said the ratings were so poor last week that they need me back on. So.
Way to go, Dora. I'm sure you feel really good about that,
No,
Dora.
Dora always does amazing on the show. It's only a joke.
The ratings aren't low. I'm here.
But some things don't change, though. Bought breakfast again. First day back, not a problem.
What do we constitute breakfast as
Well,
now?
according to Paul, buying himself was it a green tea? What'd you get?
It's a green tea with some honey.
Green tea with some honey, which my wife drinks a lot of. But anyway, you know what? That's not breakfast, dude.
Well, hold on. Are you just saying I'm not a manly man because I don't
No.
drink green tea?
It's a nice tea, and it obviously works for you, but it doesn't work for me.
We'll just call you a they. That's all.
I don't get this body by drinking green teas.
Okay.
Let's put it that way. So.
All right. Well, listen. I had so much vodka over last week in Mexico. I needed something to get the toxins out.
Welcome back. Did you buy any property while you were down there?
There was some really interesting deals though. Like everywhere I go, I always keep my eye out.
Even
Real
Mexico?
estate. There was. And listen, I know there's a quite a few realtors here in Ottawa that are doing some business down like in Mexico and the Caribbean and stuff like that. I've seen quite a bit on Facebook. So I don't
For investments, you mean?
No, they're actually selling property.
Oh, really?
Because someone told me, and I didn't look into this. It may be true, it may not be true, that you don't even need a license to sell in Mexico. Wow. So whether that's true or not, so I do I'm friends with one girl actually on Facebook that I actually see her posting a lot about all her product that she has in Mexico. So it's happening. People are selling properties down there, and I saw lots of condos and that were like, starting at 140,000 American, and so it's still very affordable to buy something in Mexico. And I know there's a lot of Canadians who go over to Mexico. It's kind of our playground.
Wow. Now, speaking of condos and stuff, I was reading this morning, there's a lot of these builders going into receivership now, huh?
A lot of the builders?
Ooh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, more so than ever before.
41%.
Crazy.
Business insolvencies rose 41% in the month of December.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
Wait until January numbers come out with the CERB and companies having to pay back the CERB.
Yeah.
You watch the next month or two.
100%.
Yeah.
Small businesses are hurting all over again.
All over.
Well, small businesses, first of all, got crumbled and crushed during COVID.
Yeah.
And they took that loan as they needed to stay afloat, as they had half the time their doors were closed. They took this loan. They're now starting to break even and starting to breathe again. And then they slapped them with, now your loan, you pay it back. And we're going to see tons of these small little restaurants, these small little,
They've already started to close.
It's sad.
In the meantime, our government's wasting money all over the place, but hurting small businesses.
Which is why I think you're going to see rates come down sooner than it being forecast.
Boy, you wouldn't know it by... Again, we're so closely tied to the U.S. That's the problem.
You see their jobs through the roof.
Incredible. So incredible numbers there, which in essence, what it did yesterday, our bond market jumped 15 basis points, just like that. Nothing to do with Canada.
And I don't
Canada's
see that
hurting,
happening here either.
Not even close. We're going in the opposite directions. We're actually going in opposite directions, yet our bond market, unfortunately, taps into the U.S. bond market, and when the U.S. bond market goes up the way it did yesterday, because the job report, so does the Canadian one. So, any chance of fixed rates coming down in the next little while were slowed down quite a bit by what happened yesterday and the U.S. reports coming out. So
they didn't go up, though, right?
What's that?
The fixed
rates didn't go up, but all of a sudden the spread has gotten thinner, and therefore the chances of them coming down has also disappeared.
When does our job report come out?
Our job report is, I think, 2 weeks from now. So
I don't think it's going to be pretty.
I don't think so either, but you never know these days. I mean, the last month was what, the 100 jobs got created. Now they were all part-time versus full-time. January historically is not a good job report month because everybody lets go of their retail. Everybody hires part-time retail during the Christmas season, and
but
then
the States
all
was
get
up
released.
over 300,000.
It's incredible. They had planned for 185,000, and the number came in at like a 330. It's like off the charts. Now again, keep in mind in the U.S. they're not facing mortgage renewal crisis like we are in Canada. Where in the U.S. about 55% of Americans financed their homes during the historic low period of 18 to 24 months during the pandemic. So therefore, they're not going anywhere. I think where they're going to see it in the U.S. is the transactions are going to be way down because Americans have no appetite to sell a home, move into another home, and their interest rate go from 3.5 to 7.5. They have no appetite for that. They
And
can't
it's
afford
7.5 for like 30 years.
30 years.
Well, there's the problem. So when I talk to a lot of these Americans that I'm friends with and I'm in this coaching program with, Frank is right. A lot of them got their mortgages at a super, super low, their 30-year mortgage at that, 1, 2, 3, 4%, whatever it was. And now if they want to move, sure, they can port, but then you got to blend, and now your mortgage could go up 1, 2, 3, 4%. And a lot of the U.S. markets, a lot of them are the luxury markets, and they're just not willing that appetite to carry a higher mortgage and much higher payments is just not there. So the sales activity is way down in the States, mainly because of that.
And again, it's all about cash flow, right? You can write off the interest, but you still need that cash.
You do. And so I was, when I was in Mexico, it was basically everyone there was either a Canadian or a Northern American. And the contrast of the markets I talked to, the people were like night and day. I talked to someone from New York where the average sale price was like $5 million. And then I'm talking to this other family, and she was telling me about her son, how her son's into buying, renovating, and flipping. And I said, well, what is it? How does he do that? He goes, he goes down to the courthouse and buys them on a tax assignment. And, he's got about 72 properties right now. He's flipping them all and this and that. He's like, yeah, that's a total different market. What's the average sale price? 134. And I'm like, yeah, different market. And then, then there's the 5 million from New York. So they have two
Yeah, that's a tough flip.
That's a tough flip. But no, it's there's a lot of markets that it's still. I remember chatting with one of the top realtors in the United States who was out of Detroit. And what he used to do during the crunch when Detroit basically went bankrupt, he would go to the courthouse. They would bundle up properties for them, and then he'd sell those bundles to investors. And he was selling thousands of homes a year just with all these court assignment bundles that he's selling, where the average sale price was $70,000, $80,000, $90,000. And I'm like, we don't know that market here in Ottawa, or even in Canada. We don't know that market.
Hey, if you want to flip 24 Sussex, they just got rid of all the asbestos, all the lead, all the rodents are gone. And if you want to,
I wouldn't say all the rodents are gone.
If you want to fix it up, it's what the NCC says it's going to cost to fix this.
That rodent hasn't been there since 2015.
I know,
$37 million
to fix it up.
Yeah,
I want you to knock it down and rebuild.
How is it possible?
It's not.
There is not a house in Ottawa that is worth $37 million.
Well, the Arrive Can-App was $54 million.
Yeah, that's what.
Why is that surprising?
That's what us taxpayers paid for that Arrive Can-App, $54 million. Yeah. But you're right. If
what's the most expensive house in Ottawa? $10 million or less?
Yeah, $10 million. Yeah,
top.
Yeah. If I've seen a few on the outskirts on the water and stuff like that are that, but they're compounds. But you're looking at 5, 6, 7 is like a super duper highest properties in that price range.
Is it more expensive to renovate a complete renovation than it is to build new?
It is way more expensive, especially if it's something like...
It can't be like 10, 20, 30
But is it
times
heritage?
more
Is that the issue? It's that it's a heritage home, and therefore they
rules.
need to leave the structure the way
There's
it is.
Rules. But
that's probably the reason behind it.
I did that. I made that mistake with my East End office. My East End office, I ripped it down to pretty much one wall and then built up. It would have been cheaper for me to rip everything down and rebuilt and just started from scratch. So, yeah, there's times where you have to rip that down. But you're right.
But it didn't cost you $37 million.
No. And
you should have talked to a real estate agent, though, before you did. Why would you do that without talking to a realtor?
Yeah. I don't know. My clearance apparently didn't work.
So. Hey, listen, we're talking about windows of opportunity now. People are starting to think, all right, if I don't get into the housing market very soon, prices are going to start going up, and we're already seeing multiple offers in Toronto and in Vancouver.
Yeah, and
so
in Ottawa.
what is this little window now?
Well, I've been saying it now for probably the last 6-8 months that we're going to, if you remember at the start of 2022, Jan, Feb, March, and April, the market went insane. I don't think we'll ever get back there, but there's a feeling right now, and it's amongst all my agents as well. I mean, Greg's on the road listing properties galore. There's a feeling that it's like right there. It's like that flame is sparking and it just hasn't lit yet. So if you're somebody who's wants to get into this market and you think you're going to wait till there's more opportunity because there's not a ton of listings on the market right now, you could be, looking at let's say it's a $600,000 property. In 2 months, that could be a $650,000 property.
So if you wait for rates to come down, will you be too late?
Oh, you'll be too late. Yeah. We need, honestly, 1 to 2 rate announcements where we drop for the market to really start flying.
But from what I'm reading, just the fact that it's been held for 4 consecutive times now, optimism is back, and people who have been sitting on the fence are now going, all right, we got to get into this.
Well, and listen, it's almost I've been saying it for 6 to 8 months, and the rates were super high, and you almost come across as like a slimy salesman telling people to get in when the rates are so high. But there's a small window of opportunity where those rates are going to come down and the prices are going to skyrocket. And that's why I'm saying, like, homes are still affordable right now. In 6 months, we might be talking about homes that are not affordable anymore. So, take this as you want, but I would try get into home ownership if you can.
What about listing?
I would get the homes. We are starting to list a lot of properties. Are you busy, Greg, right now on the roads?
Oh yeah, like this week has been the busiest this year so far, and like I said last week too, like a lot of what we're seeing are people that want to sell. They're choosing to sell. Some beautiful properties out there. Like we had a couple this week that were snapped up in days.
Yeah.
Which and I mean Paul can talk better about average days on market, but there's some great properties coming at some great prices right now.
If you're new to the show, Greg is the photographer for Paul Rushforth Real Estate and Paul's masseuse.
Videographer, photographer,
videographer. Yeah. Videographer, photographer, jack of all trades, does it all.
Masseuse.
You know what? I think if you can buy a house today, I mean, there's no question that, the feeling is that the properties may start to appreciate in value at a quicker pace than we've seen over the last 18, 24 months. I mean, ideally, if you can buy a house now and the closing is 6 months away, that might be a best bet scenario because that's when we'll start to see the interest rates really start to come down because there's pretty well a 0% chance of prime coming down in March unless the numbers that come out over the next 3 weeks.
Well, what numbers
really
have to come out yet before March?
Job report, GDP again, even though the GDP was up a little bit, and obviously the CPI, the inflation number. So those are 3 critical reports that come out that impact what Bank of Canada does. But right now it's slated the markets have 0% of increase in March. And they're down to about 25% in April, and most of them are at like 75, 80% in June. So June seems to be the next date that prime rate could come down. Now, that could change quickly because just a few weeks ago, it was at 80% for April, and boom, just like that, it came down based on all the verbiage and all the latest reports that are coming out from the U.S. because they are so involved in what happens here. We're not seeing shelter costs change in the U.S. because of what we talked about, where their interest rates are set. Where in Canada, the shelter costs have gone up tremendously and will continue to go up because anybody that's coming off a mortgage renewal, the only thing that's really good that we're going to see on the shelter costs is prime rate. The last increase was last January, and then they paused for about 4 months until June and July. So we should see this spring the shelter costs come down a little bit. As long as oil prices stay down and groceries, from everything I saw this week, it looks like they're going back up 7, 8, 9%. So maybe that would skew the numbers again. So
I hope they bring it down soon, though, because there's a lot of mortgages coming due. I think that was at 60% in the next 18 months that are coming due. And, a lot of these mortgages are coming off
3%. Well, no, the 1% will be in 2026. The ones and the low twos will be in 2026. What we're seeing now is, like most mortgages are coming up that were from 5 years ago, or in the high 2s, low 3s. So that's a significant change to go from that number all the way to the high 4s, low 5s. That's a significant amount of money.
The payments are going to be tough.
Out of the economy. That money's all coming out of the economy. Yeah. That's where the economy is going to suffer because this is money that they were putting towards other things and now they're not going to be able to because their mortgage payment's going to go up that much.
And we're running out of rentals.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and rental prices are stupid right now, too.
Yeah.
They're going crazy,
Yeah, that
too.
Gap is closing.
Gap is
no
closing,
one's building.
Yeah. And we got to, well, of course no one's building, but we really got to get these rates down because it's when these mortgages are coming due, people are living paycheck to paycheck. And so when you tell them, by the way, now your mortgage has gone up $500 a month, that's when you're living paycheck to paycheck. Where are you getting that $500?
Yeah, we'll talk about that Angus Reid poll. Talk about paycheck to paycheck.
Oh, yeah.
When we come
Scary,
back.
eh?
521-TALK, 521-8255. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. Always nice to be joined by Sean Reid, and I guess because it's, there's no regular NHL games to watch, I'm sure you're taking
Chal,
it easy.
he's been booed out of the building maybe.
Yeah, probably booed out of the building again.
Several times.
1,100? How many games you had, Sean?
Coming up to 1,100.
Wow.
But
That's
today
awesome.
Today's not about my hockey. Today is my daughter's playing in a tournament in Canada, so I'm actually at the Sensplex in the parking lot in between games here. So,
that's Frank's stopping grounds. He likes parking lots.
I was just thinking, reader in the parking lot. How many times have we actually done the show from a so many hockey tournaments I've gone to doing it from the parking lot.
Now, how difficult are you on referees when you're a spectator?
No. Today, the young referee, made a great call. My daughter covered the puck in the crease, which is a penalty shot. He called it. I could see he didn't really know what to do. But after the game, I went into the referee room and I told him it was a great call. And
but don't ever call it on my daughter again.
Yeah. No. And then I made sure I had a little chat with my daughter afterwards. Don't do that again.
Hey, Reader, you're way too young to have refed me, eh?
Far too young.
Yeah.
Far too young, for sure.
All right. Because if you would have refed me, we probably wouldn't be talking right now.
He's far too young and he's 50.
No.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, it's a great time to catch up here. And, for us at Advanced Mortgage Investment Corp, just, the opportunity, a lot of people are coming looking at their investments and reviewing last year's returns. And obviously the markets bounce back for people at the end of the year, but some of the sentiment and the comments that we're having from investors and potential investors is just, again, that roller coaster, right? And at Advanced MIC, to give people a high-level overview, we pool investors' capital, and then we lend that money out to borrowers that need private money, so short-term money. Obviously, those borrowers pay interest and fees on the mortgage that we lend to them, and we revert that money back to our investors. And really, our goal is to provide our investors with just a consistent return.
Is it all local, more or less, Sean?
Yeah, you know what? About 85 to 90% of our portfolio is Ottawa or Eastern Ontario.
Yep.
That we lend in, and you know what? We listening to prior to coming on here, listening to everything, the sentiments about the marketplace. I agree. Like, there is some optimism in the market, and we look at the Ottawa region as a whole. I think there's optimism. We still see, good numbers in terms of affordability compared to other markets, in Ontario and the rest of the country. And one of the stats that I was looking at this past week from Stats Canada was just the mortgage payments as a percentage of people's income. And if you take the composite 10 cities, so the major 10 cities in the country, those sit at about 63%, just over that. So it's a big chunk of people's income. Obviously, that goes towards their mortgage payment as a percentage. But in Ottawa, we're at 43%, or just under 44%. And so it's, again, affordability that we have here is a good market. So when we look at from our fund and private lending, we know that Ottawa is a strong market to focus on.
So, Reader, so answer this. So why would I put my money in Advanced MIC when, every month when I open up my statement and it goes down and down, my financial advisor tells me that's a good thing. It goes down and down. Yeah. Isn't that normal?
Yeah,
how do you spell facetious, Frank?
It's a good time to buy, and you know what? Obviously, too, everybody's scenarios are different and have different goals and objectives, and that's part of our discussion to make sure that our investment is suitable for individuals and for their goals. But really, Paul, as what you just described is, we're trying to eliminate that volatility.
Yeah. And
last year we returned just to our fiscal year, just over 8% return to our investors. And historically, we've been consistent, and that's where you look at that investment. Sure, there are times in the market, can you not get a higher return than 8%? We all know that, and I would never say otherwise. But we also know that we can have those downturns in the market where you're losing. So it's a matter of I wouldn't say that obviously we're competing for people's money and investment that way, but it's a matter of consistent returns. And our investors, when we are able to tell our story of what we do and provide short-term lending to people, we really provide consistent returns consistently month over month. And people like that.
Well, for years and years, though, right? For years and years, you've been consistent.
for coming up onto 10 years.
Yeah.
And just under 8% historically over that. So if you look over the term of the market as well, there's been some higher times, but there's also been some lower times that people haven't seen those returns, and that eat up obviously into their savings.
And you don't want the entire portfolio for most people anyway. It's all about diversifying, right?
So
Exactly.
10 years you've been doing that. That's impressive. I actually sent Frank a picture of what he looked like 10 years ago on the beach, and he had no gray hair. So that's a long time ago.
What I want to know is what you and Frank were doing on the beach.
Yeah.
Sean, how do we get a hold of you?
If we could just get, yes, if you could, anytime, if people want to give us a call at 613-274-0055, we'd be more than happy to have a discussion about what we do. We really are really happy. We're local, investment opportunity, and we just like telling our story, and we feel it's a great story to be told, and the more that we can do this and get this story out to people, we really feel it can benefit them in their goals and achieving their financial goals.
What's the website if I want to read more? No pun intended.
Simple.
AdvancedMake.com.
It's AdvancedMake.com.
Advanced MIC, right?
Yeah.
Thanks,
MIC.
Reader.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
right.
Good luck to your daughter.
Stay out of the crease.
Take care.
Hey, see you, bud.
Yeah, will do.
521 Talk 521-8255. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. All right, we were talking earlier about that Angus Reid poll where the majority of people under 55 years old couldn't afford a $1,000 major expense.
Wow.
One time only.
Scary.
Like something happens where they blow a tire.
Blow a tire, dog needs something,
And they
Don't have the
if they
grant.
had that expense, they
couldn't do it.
Doesn't shock me. What was the percentage?
The majority of people under 55 years old.
That's-
40% of people aren't contributing to their TFSAs or RRSPs. So where are the first-time homebuyers going to get the money for a down payment now?
Mom and dad. Bank of mom and dad is very, very popular these days. And even as guarantors or co-signers, they're having to go on. I mean, this is why I say it'll be interesting to see how much of a pent-up demand there's going to be for property, because the interest rates got to really come down for most young Canadians to qualify, because you're still having to qualify 2% above the contract rate. So, today you're even if you're at 4.99, you have to qualify at 6.99%, and that's really difficult to do unless. So we're talking about. Remember, we used to talk about 4 or 5 times your salary. Now we're 3, 3.25, 3.5 times your salary. Well, so the average townhouse is $500, $550,
$650,
$600. So 5% down. Let's say you need a mortgage of $600. You do the math. You need to be making about $200,000. Not a lot of first-time home buyers, even if they're buying in 2 people, making $200,000 right now.
You're talking about
With no other debt.
You're talking that is there going to be this pent-up buyer demand. Keep in mind, it was about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer than a year ago, where most first-time home buyers couldn't get into the market. They went into the rental market. When you go into the rental market, you basically sign a 1-year lease, and then after that, you go month to month. So most people aren't going to be let out of a 1-year lease when you've signed that with your landlord. But we're now at the point where most people are on month to month, which is just 2 months' notice to your landlord, and you're out.
Yeah.
So if this was 6 months ago, people were still locked into their rental agreement. But now most people have done it for a year. They're on month to month. Once the rates start coming down, the pent-up buyer demand and the ability to then step up and buy a property from these renters will come back. And so I think it's going to be a perfect storm. Rates come down, pent-up demand, a lot more listings and product on the market, and I think we're going to see a lot of these people get into home ownership.
But we're also getting sorry not to interrupt, but we're also getting very, very close now between the difference of what you're paying in rent and what your mortgage payment would be.
Yep.
Even though the mortgage payments are fairly expensive, rents have gone through the roof.
Absolutely. And Steve, I do like when you just said, I'm sorry for interrupting you. I'd like you to teach that phrase to Frank, please, because he always interrupts me. He never apologizes.
I'm Italian.
So
we're Italian. We talk over each other. That's what we do.
But Steve,
the best interruption line I've ever heard is a buddy of mine that went, just to interrupt for a minute.
So Steve, I do agree with you. Rents have got so stupid right now that it's, what's the mortgage going to be compared to what the rent's going to be? And it used to be, you can rent for, this, and your mortgage was always,
200,
yeah, a little bit more. But now we're getting to the point where it's not even affordable to rent anymore. So
if you can find a place, our vacancy rate's only at 2.1%.
Which is low, which is very, very low. And so we're, if you can find a place and then afford a place, because keep in mind, you're not only paying your rent, but you're paying your utilities as well and your content insurance and things like that. So it's becoming very, very expensive to rent as it is to buy.
But still not, the gap is still too large, I think. With the interest rates where they are now, in many cases, you're talking $1,000, $1,200, which most people don't have that money available. So that's why it's so critical for these interest rates to come down. And if properties go up too quickly, well, then it defeats the purpose. The interest rate could come down, but if the properties go up $100,000, well, now even though the interest rates come down 1%, your monthly payment's the same, and it's going to slow it down. So it'll be interesting.
My big worry is at the end of this year with the foreign buyer ban. But
it'll be extended.
I believe it's going to be extended too, and in fact, I hope it is going to be extended. And I'm sorry for people who are, not from Canada looking to come into Canada and buy property. But the problem is it's hurting Canadians.
We don't have houses.
We don't have enough houses. We're under 3,000 listings on the market right now. Rates coming down, pent up buyer demand. We need more product, and we start lifting that foreign buyer ban, and all our properties get scooped up from people overseas. We're going to be in trouble. So I'm almost positive they're going to extend.
Yeah,
it.
I think it's a slam dunk.
I think it's a slam dunk too, but it is coming to an end. So potentially it could be.
And I'm surprised that Steve hasn't mentioned yet the Bank of Canada Tiff Macklem's comments this week, where he didn't blame low interest rates. He blamed the lack of housing for the problem that we have with housing right now. So it's almost like he took the blame away from him. Like, don't blame my interest rates. This isn't the problem right now. The problem is we don't have enough houses.
So hold on. You're surprised this is the same guy that said the rates are going to be super low until 2024?
No, but I think what he's doing is he's saying, listen, if we had more housing, the interest rates wouldn't be the problem. People wouldn't be complaining about the interest rates.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I don't fully agree with it either. But we do need more housing.
I agree with Frank. I don't fully agree, but there's some argument to that, because it's, we talked about bringing the initiative of making it easier to get shovels in the ground and for builders to build. It hasn't got easier.
That's the shot he's taken at the government right there. Yeah. That's exactly what he's saying. You got to make it easier for them to build, because otherwise this is never going to go away. I can lower interest rates, but we're still going to have a housing problem.
But they say they've done it. No, the red tape's lifted. No, it's not. I have friends that are builders that tell me it's even tougher now. Like, it's not any easier where it's supposed to be cutting the red tape, having shovels in the ground like they do in the States, and it hasn't been improved at all. In fact, most of my builder friends say it's getting worse.
Yeah.
So
there must be a backlog now too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
521-TALK, 521-8255. Let's say hello to Sammy in Ottawa. Hello, Sammy.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Great.
Good. How are you?
Not bad. I just wanted to commend you guys, Frank especially, keeping a cap on reality. But the one question I have is rentals. Like, I actually see builders, the big builders, even going to Stittsville's and converting to rental right now. You see them coming up. Look at Champaign Avenue, all the rentals that have been going up. Will that, the housing crisis, is it directly related to let's go buy new houses and get in debt, or let's solve it with putting some buildings? Look at down Somerset Avenue with low-income housing that's going to be coming around the old train. And like the big developers, like the Claridges and whatnot, they've converted to rentals now. It's
because of the money. The money's there, right? I mean, like I never realized back in the day when you had all these major builders like the Mintos and the Madamies and the Cardells, why they were selling so many condo buildings and not keeping them themselves and renting them out. They have the deep pockets to do it. They can hold the product and build it and rent it out. But now, Sammy's right. It's happening. We're seeing, even government buildings being now are now condos and hotels and things like that. So yeah, we do have definitely a housing crisis, but we also do need more rentals, right? We need more rentals. We need more houses. We need all that product.
We need more beds.
We need more beds, is right. Like, we need rooms.
So in comparison to that, like Minto just let go of a whole bunch of housing now to Ottawa Housing as an idea that is the rental, like in New York City, Manhattan, the future for people. Not getting away from the retail show of realty and the mortgage market and whatnot, but is that a possibility? Like, I see many buildings for rent. It's coming soon.
Sammy, it's a very, very good point that you raise. It could, if rates come down and prices become unaffordable again. The problem is rents are so high, but you're right. You might see more people, which we're already seeing, push to the rental game and some people might be pushed to the rental game permanently, like you're saying, and it is a possibility. Yeah, in New York City, I don't even know the stat, but I'll throw something dumb out there and say probably 50% of the people in New York City rent. It's just they just can't afford to buy.
So,
yeah.
Here's the thing, though, Sammy. Last year there was a record number of new rental units, and the vacancy rate stayed exactly the same.
So we need it
because there's so many people now coming in.
It shows how far behind we are.
Yeah.
In the next couple years, there's going to be a boom, literally, in building, which you see it even on Rochester Avenue and for low-income housing.
Yep.
But, I mean, not to take away, but, I mean, I think it's important that we stop drilling the fact that you have to buy a house and get in debt, seriously in debt. Even with your taxes on a house and all your payments, it could be crippling for the average couple, like, starting off.
Yeah,
so,
but you know what? Then 5-10 years from now, at least they got some equity.
Yeah.
I wonder, or will they just be in debt forever versus having a lifestyle where they can...
Look at history, though.
Yeah. History says, but I know where you're going with Sammy. I know where you're going with this, but it's, you know, still the Canadian dream is owning real estate. That's the Canadian dream.
Yeah.
Well,
and I'm just wondering, is that a dream that's one of the dreams that was of the past, you know? Like, electric cars are coming. I mean, we've gone away with horse and buggy. But I mean, is the future?
Electric cars are kind of like horse and buggy, aren't they, Frank?
It's a fast horse, I can tell you that much.
Less mess.
The thing I'm trying to get to is just a simple reality check. I'm glad that not both of you are trying to push product, but the thing is that just keep it on keel with maybe, you know, it's not as important as it was before, because I just see things in a different light sometimes with the economy, and now with the prices of vehicles at close to 100,000, you know, from 50 to 100,000, where they used to be 20 to 30,000, everything is getting a bit out of hand. So don't get yourself in debt. Don't kind of listen to, you know, like, just look at your average GICs at 5.05%. Why worrying, get yourself in debt with investing at 8 and potentially losing it? You know,
but the dream is the dream.
An even head. Anyways, that was my comment. Will the rental market really be something to look at in the next couple years?
Well, it already is. Just us, our team, my team alone, you know, we probably did double, if not triple, the rental deals this year than we did in the past, and it's mainly because people. It's not affordable. It's the rates. It's just not affordable right now.
And Sammy, as much as I enjoy your call, you really lost me when you said I want to commend especially Frank.
Yeah, seriously, Sammy.
I didn't hear a word after that.
Here, I'll put it this way: when you go to a car salesman, they're always going to try to sell you options.
Yep.
The reality is, what can you afford? So,
exactly.
Talk with them in the sense of what kind of vehicle do you need for a family of 4, or, you know what I mean, versus, and then they'll be coming back versus, you know, it's a one-shot deal and the market's going to be great forever.
Exactly.
You know, right now, you know, there's a discrepancy in that, you know. So, I mean, you got to be honest with people and just, you know, the interest rates aren't going to bottom out to 2%. They're at 5%. I can't see them going down, and the governor is not just going to be that foolish just to let the reins go. It's not going to get back to COVID times. Look at
it never will.
Ottawa.
Never
it's a shame. It's a shame at what's going on. I mean, these conversions will happen, but I don't know. It's not pretty.
Welcome to the Sammy Show.
Thank you, Sammy. We got to move along.
Thanks, Sammy.
521-TALK, 521-8255. We'll be right back with the commendable Frank Napolitano. Welcome back to the show. The phones we go. Say hello to Lola. Hello, Lola.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Gentlemen, I think you have the wrong show.
Yeah.
I had a question, please, about my mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a variable rate mortgage.
Yep.
So I hit 11 times. And it was actually an open mortgage, but it became due last June. So I have been squeaking by with the bank. They've been charging at 4.5%. But every so often, TD banks, they put the muscle on. So, like, they're trying to push me to, like, renew, or they're threatening credit recovery, all this other stuff. But meanwhile, they've been taking the money every month.
Yep.
And the other part of my mortgage is like a home equity
line of credit. Yep.
Yeah, so they just take the interest.
Yep.
Separate pay, and that's at like 7.5% or something ridiculous. But I'm wondering, what would you suggest I do?
Well, so your variable rate mortgage with TD. So I even got to do a better job. So there's two types of variable rate mortgage. There's an adjustable rate mortgage and there's a variable rate mortgage. What you have is truly a variable rate mortgage. What happens is your interest rate changes, but your payment remains constant. So your payment doesn't change as interest rates change. So over the last 24 months, with the rates going up as much as they have, you've actually gone into what's called negative. So your payment doesn't even cover the interest. So your amortization's gone up. And what some of the banks like TD, CIBC, who have this type of mortgage, what they're doing is they're reaching out to their clients. And what they're looking to do now is to try either to get them to lock in, or in some cases, they'll send you a letter saying, we need a principal reduction from you because right now you're not even your mortgage balance is actually going up instead of coming down based on the fact that the interest rates have gone up.
But the thing, my mortgage went from $1,700 to $2,040.
Yeah, so what they did is they set it up for you then to make sure that they capture the fact that you're paying some principal down as well, and it's not interest only. So if they're calling you now to convert it to a fixed, my recommendation would be don't do it. We've been through the worst part of a variable rate mortgage now. Yeah. Now we're going to start to see it go the other way eventually. I think it's going to be either in April or June that we're going to see that first rate cut, which will be a 1/4 point. And then most economists predict that they'll be a little bit more aggressive in the second half of this year and into 2025. So
we're on the backside of the mountain.
We are on the backside. So converting it to a fix now seems you should have done it 2 years ago. I bet you the bank didn't call you 2 years ago to convert when rates were going up.
I was chasing them for a year and I couldn't get anyone to call me back.
Yeah. So now's not the time to do it. So I would stay in the variable. As far as the line of credit's concerned, I had a client that wrote me this week and said, hey, Frank, can you help me? I've got a secured line of credit. I want to be able to lock it into a mortgage to get a better rate, but I want to keep the payments the same. I don't want them to go up. The problem with that is if you go into a mortgage, the mortgage has principal and interest payments. On an equity line of credit like you have, it's interest-only payments. So you're paying a higher rate, but you're keeping your monthly payment down because you're paying interest only. If you can afford to make principal payments, I would say lock it in. But I wouldn't even lock it in now because interest rates are on their way down. So at this point, I'd wait it out if I could.
So you don't think I should even try to renew into another variable rate? Because now RBC is trying to wine and dine us, right? So I'm kind of nervous. I thought, a mortgage broker would tell me what to do.
I would say call me on Monday. Give me more specific details that you don't necessarily have to do on the air, so I can understand what your needs are better, and I can understand what your financial situation is to be able to make a recommendation for you.
Okay.
Thanks, Lola.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lola.
You want to give your number out right now, Frankie, or what?
My office?
Yeah.
6560757.
No, your home number.
Yeah.
Remember, I gave my cell out one time, remember?
Hey, listen, new home sales in Ottawa down 50% since 2021.
New home sales.
Yeah.
Because the builders aren't building as quick.
Exactly.
I have...
all of these stats,
yeah.
we've got to get some homes.
We have to get some homes built. We've been saying it ad nauseum. Like, I have friends who are also in the trades business, electricians, plumbers, and all that, and they work for these new home builders. They're starving. There's nothing being built, right? And they're starving. And I don't know if it's because builders are doing what they did before COVID, and they saw the prices going up so fast that they only sold a few spec homes because they knew the next phase they wanted to jack up the prices. I'm wondering if builders have the same optimism I have, and they see it's about to take off, and so they're like, oh, you know what? We're just going to hold off for now in building. We're going to wait till the prices go a little bit higher, then we'll start building. But
or is it just too expensive for them to borrow money?
Well, it's too expensive for them to borrow money, and the truth is 25%, around 25% of their cost of a build is useless blowing money on things like permits and fees and this and that.
And it's all upfront money.
And it's all upfront money. So yeah, like builders used to be able to get cheap money at, 1, 2, 3%. And now it's, that's not cheap money anymore. So, and keep in mind, they're holding product for quite a while. I mean, the builder I work with, Charles Clement, CH Clement Construction, like he's holding a lot of product. He's got tons of townhomes, tons of condos. And he's like, I need some sales in order to get my financing for the next thing. And
it's costing him a lot because the interest rates are so high on the money he's borrowed. We're not talking 10,000. We're talking millions when you're
yeah.
building these, and you start putting 6, 7, 8% on top of that. That's a lot of money.
And
out
now
the door.
there's a lot of major builders that have deep pockets, but there's also a lot of small and medium builders that rely on cheap financing in order to build that product, and they're not getting cheap financing, so they're not building. And so,
we need homes, so it's a vicious circle.
There's probably more small to medium builders in the city than there are, the Mintos of the world and stuff. There's probably more medium to small, and a lot of these guys, like I said, rely on financing, and they don't have the deep pockets to carry 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 homes, and so they're waiting for the rates to come down so they can get more cheaper financing, so they can start building again. Because there's
Two quick questions before we go.
If I'm 6'5",
if I'm
the height you wish you were.
yes,
if I'm buying,
yes.
what's my window?
Oh, you need to start getting into the market ASAP. I think that rate drop I believe is going to happen in April, like Frank agrees, and I think June he thinks. Well, see. I'm very optimistic about April, so I think if you haven't bought by April, we're going to see some prices skyrocketing.
And if I want to list,
yep.
When do I do it?
Well, here's the other thing too. As much as this sounds like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, there's no listings on the market. We're empty, so there's a very good chance you're getting a good price. We're seeing multiple offers again, so it's like I wouldn't say don't list your property because wait until the summer when prices are higher. Because we don't know what's going to happen with interest rates, and 2, there might be a lot more product on the market because everyone has the mentality a spring market is April and May. We're already in a spring market, so there's lots of people looking with no product to buy. So I would list ASAP as
and it takes time, right?
It takes time, like I think Dora mentioned last week on the show. It takes time to prep your house, get it ready, get it prepared. Let us do our marketing, our pre-marketing, and things like that to get it sold for you.
Got to get Greg in, get pictures, get videos, get your massage. Now, I'm going to shake things up a little bit. We're going to go to Paul first for birthdays.
Oh, today. I was going to do his.
Oh, you were. I knew it. Today, so keep in mind we've been doing this show for how long?
18 years almost.
Almost an hour.
Yeah. Today, my youngest, Chase, turns 15. So he wasn't even around when we started doing this show, but can you imagine? He's 15 years old.
Happy birthday, Chase.
Happy birthday, Chase.
And what about Zach?
More.
And, of course, I one more. I knew I was going to pretend that I wasn't going to do it, and Petra would have killed me. But Petra, my wonderful girlfriend, her son, Zach, turns 11 on Wednesday the 7th. So happy birthday to Zach, and he's probably listening too.
He was this close to ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
No, I wanted Frank to go, and I wanted Petra to text me and be like, did you forget Zach?
Birthdays, Frank?
I've got Karen Lateral, who works on my team, celebrating her birthday, and Carrie Martin, our HR person, and Mr. Hapke celebrating his birthday on Thursday. So happy birthday.
How old is
He doesn't even look 60.
No, he's not close to 60. He's
got to be
56.
Is he 56?
56. Yeah, he's a young 56.
Yeah, he still looks good. He doesn't have the gray. He doesn't have the gray hairs like you, Frank.
No, but that's what some hair products do for him. So.
I thought Frank was going to say that's what worked.
Grecian formula, Grecian formula, baby. You know, Paul.
Yeah, right.
Have a great week, gentlemen,
and support local businesses and charities.